Hello, welcome to Garage Football. We're going to review Arsenal's 2017 to 2018 season with Ryan and our special guest Lewis, who's also an Arsenal fan.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, won the FA Cup last season, didn't they? Arsene Wenger signed a 2-year extension. Lacazette and Kolasinac come in. Bit of optimism, wasn't there?
It was a bit of a start, wasn't it? A bit of a positive start. I thought, well, back of the FA Cup, you're thinking, Wenger, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? He did sign, and it wasn't the popular choice at first, was it?
That's an understatement.
No. But I must say, I thought, okay, well, at least now he's decided he's going to stay, because that was the bad side to the whole Wenger, is he going to stay in and out situation? Is he just kept plodding it along?
There was clarity, wasn't there?
Yeah.
At last.
But then, so we beat Chelsea in the FA Cup at the end of the season, and then into the new season, we beat Chelsea, in the Community Shield. So it was a good start. And then first game of the Premier League, beating Leicester 4-3, which was a tough game, wasn't it? Really.
Well, they were 2-1 down and a 3-2 down. So, but to come back and win and 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to win 4-3, you think, okay, nice 3 points to the board. And new sign Lacazette scored after 2 minutes was it? So
like that,
you think, okay, 3 points. Let's see what happens from then.
Did you have a bit of optimism at the beginning, or?
Not when it was like 2-0 down, it's 2-1 down, things like that. You have positivity going in from the previous games.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2 back-to-back wins over Chelsea, who historically always beat us quite comfortably. So it was good in that regard. But then it goes back to that same old Arsenal thing again, doesn't it? As always, you kind of a bit of optimism, the clarity regarding the manager situation, and then before you know it, you're finding yourself battling from behind again constantly. After a good start, so it was a good way to end. Winning with a victory and showed a bit of resilience that perhaps we were always lacking towards the end of a previous season. But it dampens your expectations a little bit.
Well, all that optimism went, lads, didn't it? After the next game.
What, Liverpool?
Well, no, before that, lost 1-0 away at Stoke. So back to earth straight away. And then that abysmal performance against Liverpool, they lost 4-0.
Well, same old Arsenal. You're right there. But and after that as well, after we lost to Liverpool, we lost the Ox to. They took him, didn't they? Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah. It was farcical, wasn't it, lads? Where Oxlade-Chamberlain was playing, and he was heavily linked with Liverpool at that time, and he left a couple of days later. So how embarrassing is that? Eh?
Again, same old Arsenal.
And players were walking that day, like Ozil and Xhaka and midfield just walking. Like it was so easy for Liverpool, who they were playing well at the time, but not how they are now.
There was a dark cloud with Arsenal at the time. Very up and down. Obviously losing to Liverpool, but the Sanchez situation.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be there.
And was Ozil going to sign a contract as well?
It was just abysmal, really.
Yeah.
And then Wenger had agreed to stay. It was all up in the air, and then we started to win some games. We beat Everton 5-2.
5-2, yeah. One of Koeman's last games. But you still got to play well away from home. And they were 1-0 down, weren't they? Rooney opened the scoring.
It's always Rooney.
And then Arsenal just blew him away after that. One of the rare Arsenal good performances away from home.
Oh yeah, God, don't get started on that.
We'll come back on to 2018 in a minute.
Yeah.
But pretty average, I'd say, towards the end of 2017. Going into December, Man United beating us 3-1.
Yeah, again, that was unlucky. I mean, that was the one that De Gea put in a masterclass of a performance to keep his team in the game. So,
but it was defensive mistakes again, Lou, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the story of
United took last 10 seasons, mate. I've got to be honest. Not just this season. This defensively have been shocking throughout years, haven't they?
Yeah.
And even despite spending money on players like Mustafi.
Let's not get started on that.
35 million on Mustafi, absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking
amount
of money spent on him. So, this season, terrible defending. And United took advantage. And Arsenal, they tried their best, but De Gea got in the way.
The only good news just before then is obviously beating Tottenham 2-0.
Yeah, it's a positive.
Which I know it's the Arsenal review, but everyone keeps saying now, especially how we finished at the end of the season, has there been a power shift?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to accept that in any shape or form. I know I'm an Arsenal fan, you could say I'm biased, but come on, Arsenal have still been winning trophies lately.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were saying. Like, every time we discuss this, it's always difficult when you're a Spurs fan or you're an Arsenal fan to talk objectively about the other team, because, not many fans are actually going to take their own loyalty out of the equation and actually discuss it properly.
Well, I'm a neutral. Well, because I'm West Ham, and it's bullshit. There's no power shift. So Tottenham last won the trophy in 2008, which was the Carling Cup. They've had a couple of league challenges, but you don't get a trophy for running Chelsea close, do you? or finishing third place. You just don't, do you? No. So, whereas Arsenal, league-wise, they've been very poor, especially the last 2 seasons, but at least they've been getting FA Cups and going
semi-finals and things.
And actually lifting the silverware. I think it's rubbish.
And that's the thing as well with Spurs. Like, say what you want, but they seem to have this mentality issue where when it comes to it, to the important times, they seem to have bottled it recently.
There's still this Spursiness about Tottenham.
Yeah.
Pochettino's done a brilliant job, by the way, but in the big games, they're still flat to deceive. Like in the semi-final against Man United in the FA Cup this season, just gone.
And Juventus.
And Juventus, where they should have won in the Champions League. So, the power shift. No, I think it's rubbish, to be honest. Yeah.
There's a long way to go.
I agree with you. But and also in December. Let's not forget. So we said about the Sanchez situation.
Yeah.
Keeping him, and I remember as well against, was it Palace? He scored.
Crystal Palace went it away 3-2, wasn't it?
And only half the team were really celebrating with him. It looked like there was a divide then.
Yeah.
Now I was gutted with Sanchez. I know he was definitely our best player by far, but if your heart's not in it, let him go.
Yeah, it's fair enough. I mean, again, whenever we've spoken about this, I kind of feel if he wanted to go legitimately, to win trophies and things like that, as he sort of starts getting towards his 30s and things like that, I wouldn't really hold too much for grudge, because, the mentality of Arsenal in recent years is not exactly competitive, is it?
No.
It's let's set.
Well, Van Persie, he left to win trophies, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which he did. But Sanchez has gone for the money. It's obvious he's gone for the money. You can dress it up as much as you want, but he's gone for that £500,000 a week or whatever it is. Ridiculous amount of money. Yeah.
And that's why it's hard to have any sympathy with him, Whereas at least with Van Persie, you think again, getting towards his 30s, injury hampered career, wants to at least retire after winning, a domestic trophy. Fair enough. I won't hold that against him, but Sanchez is a bit of a sour taste.
I've got sour taste about the Van Persie thing as well, but I can see your point on that. But and then you look at Sanchez's interview. I've always wanted to play for Man United. It's not about the money.
£500,000 a week. Won't help that.
But again, that was obviously the transfer window. So losing Sanchez, and you bring up the Van Persie thing, and that goes to show about Arsenal in terms of how they've been over the last few years. They're just happy to lose players to Man United and be a mediocre team.
Yeah.
And that was a question that they gave Van Persie when he left, actually, and they said to him when he left Man United, what's the difference between Arsenal and Man U? And he said, well, at Arsenal, you really want to win. But at Man United, you have to win.
Yeah.
And that does sum it up, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely.
There's no argument with that.
Do you remember I can't remember if it was Rio that was telling the story as well, but the one when he joined United, and he was saying they were doing a passing drill, and he passed the ball, and Roy Keane just absolutely lost his mind at him because he took an easy pass backwards rather than making it making a play forward, and he just lost his mind and just told him, this is Man United now, we don't do that here, we play to win. So
that was on BT, wasn't it? BT Sport.
Yeah. So we don't seem to have, after losing the leader figures, we've never really replaced those. I think that's why realistically Arsenal at its core is pretty soft. those games when...
Say that again.
Well, I mean, those games where, like you mentioned, like Xhaka and Ozil and things like that don't turn up. You need sometimes someone there who's going to grab them by the scruff of the neck and say, you know, buck your ideas up because you're not putting in a shift. You know, you're paid outrageous sums of money each week to put in a performance that you're not doing. And hopefully, if we start getting to some leadership figures back in, you know, change that mentality, because I think that's the one positive about this whole restructuring as well, the club, you know, top to bottom, getting rid of all the backroom staff.
Well, there's a catalyst for change that I can see this went on about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the medical staff, to me, to be honest with you, is something that should have been done years ago, because there's not too many clubs that have an injury record like Arsenal have, you know, and such consistent injuries for the same players over such long periods of time as well. And you think, well, it's either the training methods or it's some way in, you know, something behind the scenes that obviously isn't going right.
Something's gone wrong since Gary Lewin left. Which, you know, didn't have as many injuries then, to be honest. But, yeah, so, shocking. But, you know, get rid of Sanchez. If he wants to go, let him go.
Yeah.
But Mkhitaryan come in
to get back straight.
I
thought that was quite good. And Aubameyang.
Great. I mean, that's probably, out of all the times that, you know, the board get criticised for, you know, showing a lack of ambition in the transfer markets and last minute dealings and things like that. That seems to be the one shrewd, you know, intelligent business decision they've seemed to have made this year. It's probably one of the more positive elements, I think. You know, the fact they're actually able to utilise someone that didn't want to go to bring in two excellent players as replacements. It's probably one of the few positive stories, I think, this year.
And plus, in January, Theo left, didn't he? Theo Walker. What do you guys make of that?
I was gutted.
I think he should have left years ago.
Yeah, but I liked it.
Say what you mean next time.
Come on, he was a great winger, and he scored a fantastic hat-trick against Newcastle United when they won 7-3.
Oh, that was years ago, though.
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago,
Yeah, but it was fantastic on FIFA.
Definitely got to keep him then.
I think the problem with Walcott is, again, he didn't always get the consistent games.
Yeah.
And when he was on form, he was fantastic, but he never quite made that legendary status, did he?
Or found his position, realistically. You know, he always wanted to play striker and things like that, and they always wanted to put him on the wings. When I say
he was hyped up as a future Henry, wasn't he, at one point?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, when I say I think he should have left years ago, I don't mean that as a criticism towards him. I think he should have left years ago to save his career. Because, again, also at Arsenal, there's a consistent, you know, lack of fulfilling your potential.
Well, look how well Oxlade-Chamberlain was doing at Liverpool. Unfortunately, he got injured. But, you know, he scored that brilliant goal against Man City in the Champions League at home.
Yeah.
You know, his stats might be similar, but he's certainly having more impact on games, isn't he?
Yeah.
But it seems like Walcott was happy to sell for that.
He was coasting, wasn't he?
He was happy with that.
Was he getting like 120 grand a week to just sit on the sidelines? I mean, it's not hard life, is it? It depends on your ambition. If you want to play each week and you want to challenge yourself and you want to improve, or you want to sit there and get a lot of money each week, that's fair enough. You know, it just depends on what you want.
Yeah. So they're the signings. So before we get on to the horrific away league record in 2018, we'll come on to that. Before that, FA Cup, you know, also trying to defend the title, try and win the cup again, go out in the third round, so Arsenal's first round, away at Nottingham Forest, they lose 4-2.
Right, that still makes me feel pissed off.
I'm a West Ham fan, but watching that game, I was embarrassed for Arsenal. And they had made changes, but even so, to concede 4 goals to Nottingham Forest, who are a championship team, let's forget it, and they're not exactly fighting for promotion or the playoffs or whatever. They finished 17th in the championship, so a bang average team. I mean, that what a shocking start to 2018.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can say to that.
Just lack of mental fortitude again, isn't it? The only way you suffer a result like that is if the team just capitulate and they just don't show any level of unity or a performance. You can't really say much, can you?
Mertesacker had a nightmare, didn't he? That's one of his last few games for Arsenal before he retired.
Was it around that time he said, like, he came out with an interview, didn't he? And he started saying that he's now like at a point where he gets anxious before playing. He doesn't really want to play anymore.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to sit out. I mean, again, if that's your mentality,
He's going to be a coach now, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
I think he'll be an excellent coach. But I mean, from your playing career perspective, when you get like that, should you have been thrown in? You know, if that's the sort of the way you're feeling about a game, and it's an important game to try and get out of a series of bad results.
I just can't comment on that game. I remember watching it. I was out at the pub at the time and just absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
You know, just poor. You know, there's no two ways about it. It's just shite. You know? I mean...
But look, you can understand if, you know, we see cup upsets all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Like if you lose 1-0 or like a scruffy 2-1 defeat or whatever it is, but to see 4 goals to a championship team, that's embarrassing,
but Bill, the problem is though, was it a shock? It was a shock in theory, but
Arsenal would have been no.
A lot of people could have predicted that. Maybe not the score, but predicted Arsenal to lose.
Yeah.
You know, Arsenal could play. I mean, I also support Colchester United. You know, they're my kind of second team, if you like, because of the family roots and that kind of stuff. But I wouldn't put it past Colchester's reserves to beat Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
Under 18s, mate.
But yeah, abysmal. But at least on a small scale, at least we could think, well, we've got the League Cup. You know, so
that's a consolation.
Because we were doing well. You know, we beat Chelsea in the semi-final over 2 legs.
Well, in the second leg, Hazard gave Chelsea the lead, didn't he? And then Xhaka did something good for once. He scored the winner to make it 2-1. So you know that was a good result.
And that would have been nice as well. So it was 2 trophies we could have won on Wenger's last year. Both that he's never won the European trophy with Arsenal. Yeah. He's never won the League Cup, so that would have been nice to put those 2 things to bed. I know it's not the Champions League, but it would have been nice to do that.
Yeah.
And then we played City in the final.
Oh wow!
And it was just a load of bollocks.
Yeah, that was.
It was just
an absolute diabolical game. I mean, that's the one that obviously Gary Neville just went mental, didn't he? And just went.
No, but he was absolutely right. Exactly. For those who have forgotten what Gary Neville said in commentary, he called the team spineless.
Yeah.
He said the attacking football's not even any good anymore. Spurs and City and Liverpool play better football.
Yeah. I don't disagree with him. Again, it was just weird to hear on that game. Like, he kind of embodied a lot of critics and fans, you know, meant like opinions about the team across the course of a commentary of the game. But I mean, that was the one where obviously like Ozil was just walking and Xhaka were walking around. Ramsey, no desire to win, no. That's that lack of steel, fortitude, and desire to win. Like when you have managers like Mourinho or Conte or Klopp, you see them screaming and going mental down the touch. They're running up and down. They're barking.
Well, Wenger's just sorting his zip out, isn't he?
Yeah.
Steve Ball's sitting there like a lemon.
That's what he's paid for. Like, Steve, I want to see you, but I don't want to hear anything, mate. All right?
Pretty much, yeah. But what you said about lack of, you know, defensive nous and that. But that first goal, which Aguero scored, was a good finish by Aguero, but Mustafi, like, it was literally that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then Mustafi's like complaining about foul. You've got to be stronger than that.
The first 15 minutes, Arsenal were giving it some. I remember that. I was watching it. I was eating a hot dog at the time, and I thought, do you know what? Arsenal are giving it some. But I must say, my hot dog was more entertaining than that Arsenal team. You know. But
ketchup.
Well, Arsenal certainly didn't.
I've had years of these jokes.
But no, I just, you know, it's just like my jokes, mate. Arsenal, dreadful.
Yeah.
I just think, to lose 3-0 and, all right, City, you can put it in perspective. I wouldn't have been disappointed if City won because they're the greatest team this year. You know, in the league, and
there's a way of losing, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
It was just so easy for.
But to at least turn up.
Make it competitive.
It's the same with seriously, like second gear they were in.
They weren't even they weren't even cruising. They were just
honestly like it was like autopilot for them.
That was just so embarrassing.
And that's they carved us apart, didn't they? Time and time again.
Honestly, it could have been 5-6-0. It would have flattened.
Well, technically, we played them again like 3 days later, didn't we? And lost again 3-0. So it was like 6-0 over.
Well,
conceded 6 goals in 2 games.
Premier League, that's the thing. Losing another 3-0. You think that Arsenal could have a bit of pride now, and a little bit of revenge. I mean, not that I was really bothered because it was at that point I was thinking I've had enough of this season now. At that point, and then you've also got to remember that's when some of the fans stopped coming to the Emirates.
Yeah.
And people were blaming the snow, weren't they? And it turns out it was happening in the spring as well. Not just in the winter. So that's when the attendances started dwindling.
I think that's the best part of this whole season. As soon as they did that, started hitting them, exactly from the business perspective, make them realise that people have had enough.
Yeah.
And half-empty stadiums doesn't appeal to anyone or sponsors, does it?
This is the first time in years, apparently, that Arsenal have had to rely on cold calling.
Oh, it's members.
Yeah. Like they've always had instant renewals.
Yeah.
You've got a sales team though, obviously, but it was very high on targets this year, like to get members to join. They were finding it hard.
Mm.
And you can't blame it, can you?
Well, when you think how much a season ticket costs, like the most expensive tickets to go and watch a game in the league, things like that, how can you justify that?
£1,000 season tickets?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah. Or then you think like you get dragged to like go and watch Ostersons or something like that, and then you come back or you watch them at home and you pay extortionate amounts of money for all these different games to watch them lose consistently. It's like, people are normal working class people.
But it's not even good football though anymore.
No.
Like, years ago when Arsenal weren't doing great, it was like, well, the defending's shocking.
So much
at least they're scoring goals and it's entertaining. This season it's been terrible.
Yeah.
Attacking,
but
terrible.
The only kind of positive after that is the fact that we were giving it some in the Europa League.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, here we go.
Yeah, the Milan game in particular started it.
Absolutely. But then all of a sudden, I think there was a bit of a lift for the Arsenal fans. And I remember this as clear as day. I got a message from you two. I'm being serious, people. A message from you two. So I was literally in my lounge and I got a text. Now, I live with Bill, so he texts me all the time, talk about garage football and all kinds of things. So I didn't look at his text straight away, I looked at yours first. And he was like, oh my God, Wenger's gone, yeah boy, and all that sort of stuff.
Doing cartwheels in the office.
Actually, you're not far wrong. You're not far wrong.
That was the PC version. And you was like, have you seen the news? Wenger's finally going. And I was like, hang on a minute, it must be happening. And I thought, well, hang on, let's just confirm this. My head was spinning. I put Sky Sports on the telly.
Yeah.
Sky Sports News, and Wenger to leave. And
on the yellow ticker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. Now, I think for the first minute or two, I was on a bit of a high.
Mm-hmm.
Like Arsenal had won a trophy or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really good feeling, like, yes. And then all of a sudden I had a bit of a come down and I was like, Wenger's going. I've always been very 50-50 with Wenger. And it's kind of, I found it quite sad. Now you had no remorse one bit, did you?
I was at work and I literally jumped out of my seat and started running around celebrating.
What happened when you heard the news though?
But because the thing is, the sad reality of the whole thing is that you shouldn't have to legitimately run around your office celebrating, should you? When you look at his achievements and things like that, you shouldn't have. You feel like he should have had enough common sense to realise when, enough's enough. I'm not doing the job that
No, but he's that stubborn, wasn't he? You always believed that he was going to turn it around.
I thought Wenger was going to go after the 3-0 loss to City.
Yeah.
Not the League Cup final, the Premiership one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was just another embarrassing defeat.
Mm.
And you saw Jamie Carragher and Emery, and they were saying, well, this feels like the end.
Mm.
Wenger took a while to come out the changing rooms, and you thought, well, here we go, he's going to announce something, or he's not going to announce something tonight, it'll be tomorrow. And And then he came out and was still acting like a Wenger way of, I'm still the man to
lead the team.
To lead the team.
Yeah, got to be positive.
But you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe he announced it then, but now it was a weird one. I think before the decision was made for him to go, if I was asked the question, Ryan, do you think Wenger should go? My answer would have been yes, he should go, but let him honour his contract. That was my first initial reaction. But then, on reflection, since he's announced he's going, and we're talking about new managers coming in, it's definitely the right decision. I've turned around. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad he's gone now. But it's a shame, really, because let's go back to Wenger when he started his first full season, winning a double. The Invincibles, and the first 10 years were incredible. Getting to the Champions League final, we didn't win it, but there you go. He's got the record for FA Cups, 7. Incredible manager. And then he pretty much designed the Emirates, if you like, with a big team behind him. But he was the catalyst behind that. Yeah. The Emirates Stadium is Arsenal, is Arsene Wenger. That's for the future. And then you've got to look at the first 7 years. I do agree a few years was kind of like a cop-out, using it as an excuse, but the first few years of the Emirates, come on, it must have been hard for him. Limited funds, selling out a lot of his players, and he still got them in the top 4. Are you telling me that's a shit manager?
No, I mean, there's no way you can't say he's done some good things, but by the same token, obviously I think a lot of Arsenal fans were receptive to the idea of, look, it's going to be difficult because the club want to operate in profit and not in debt like most other Premier League clubs. I think there's only a handful of clubs, maybe 1 or 2, that are in profit as a overall business, and not constantly, in the negative. So from a business perspective, obviously you can appreciate that. And I think for a good few years, a lot of the fans would support the team on that, and especially like not replacing all the big stars. But then even after that, and it's all paid off, then you kind of, I feel like that argument gets washed away when they're like, okay, well, we've got 100 million to spend, 200 million to spend, blah, 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 each season. And they're never doing it, and they're still dilly-dallying around each target. It's the same story, irrelevant of the period. I think for that period, fans would go, okay, look, you've got financial constraints, you've got targets to meet, etc. We'll back you, and he did really well with like Marouane Chamakh and Nicholas Bentner. Do you know what I mean?
But that excuse went years ago, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So like especially these last 2 seasons, where the league form has disintegrated, hasn't it?
Yeah, the trajectory has been downwards.
That excuse.
I agree with that now. That's why I said it's like a cop-out to still use that excuse. But I think the first few years you've got to look at that as an achievement that he kept us in the top 4.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and he's damaged that argument himself now. Yeah. In the years since that.
I'd agree with that now.
And I think that's when...
But it's not just him though, it's the board as well. And then you mentioned about the AGM meeting.
Yeah. Well, that was, I think, for everyone that supports the team, for your board to tell you that your club is the most overachieving in the league...
Gazida said that.
That's ridiculous. What an embarrassing
irrelevant of whatever context he meant it, it's still a ridiculous statement, whether he meant... I've got no idea in what context he meant that, if I'm honest with you.
Well, they're not overachieving in anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's the irony, isn't it?
Yeah, like, so
what a ridiculous thing. And then obviously the fans wanting Chips Keswick out. And
well, they voted him out, didn't they? And because Stan Kroenke's got all the majority of shares, he just voted him back in, which is farcical. And also, another ridiculous thing that Chips Keswick said was, if you want to read the views on Stan Kroenke, read his interview in the Daily Telegraph. That's
arrogant.
What a slap in the face to the supporters and the members that were there. It shows how out of touch he is.
Yeah. I feel like that, in conjunction with the dwindling of attendance, I feel like that attendance issue is the part where it finally started shifting the blame from Wenger all the time onto the board and putting the spotlight on them, which obviously they seem to have not liked, and which obviously has led to the push. But obviously, I know we'll get to that. But I feel like finally, now they're in the limelight for their failings as a board and as a club, irrelevant of the manager aspect. It's interesting to see how they react to that.
But the thing is, and then after that, you think, right, Wenger's going. wouldn't it be nice that if the club, players can get behind him and win the Europa League now? You forget Wenger as a manager, you think that the players win it for him.
Yeah.
And then we played Atletico in the semi-final.
Yeah.
How did we not win that first leg? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Atletico, 10 men, Simeone sent off.
After 10 minutes.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And it was 1-1.
Yep.
Oh, they had a fantastic defence unit. They're great for that, Atletico, but
again, another mistake at the back. How many times are we going to keep saying this?
Yeah,
Koscielny, who's generally pretty reliable, even he made a mistake.
And you think he plays with Griezmann for the French national team, so he should know better. He should know what from a defensive perspective, he should know who he's going up against.
Yeah.
But I mean, that game, I had to turn it off at half time because obviously we've discussed this before, but if you've watched Atletico over the years and you know what they do consistently on a domestic level in La Liga and obviously on the international stage for Champions League, they constantly are able to keep out players like Messi, Ronaldo, and all these world level players over and over again on every level. If we didn't tear them apart within the first 5 minutes after they started to capitulate, it was never going to happen because they defend against much better players than we've got consistently for years.
Defending, didn't they?
Exactly.
They
yeah. So if they could do that without a manager and 10 men, it shows you how well organised they are, how resilient they are, how well they know each other, how well they can rely on each other, and the fact that you just knew if you know that their background and you watch the game, I've missed a few games because I just end up with pounding headaches, by the end of it because I'm just so annoyed.
Because you bang your head against the telly.
Exactly, yeah. I've put a few 50-inch screens through my head, But yeah, so that game is such a shame because we had every opportunity.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not to take anything away from them. They are a ridiculously talented and well organised team. So
I was on a work conference, so I didn't really watch the second leg. I was gutted I was going to miss it, but I looked at the score and was like, well, that's expected.
Yeah, I was disappointed.
Knocked out, and so that was disappointing. And you knew Wenger was down about that, to not win the Europa League. But he did have a fantastic send off. On a brighter note, he beat Burnley.
That's a close second, isn't it? Unlucky at Atletico Arsene, but well done at Burnley.
5-0.
Sorry, something we'll touch on is the away record in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, was it
7
defeats?
losses.
7 in a row, and then beat Huddersfield
at the end
on
the last day. So even there was a stage where even Grimsby and other teams like that, they had more points than Arsenal in the league
just
in
shocking.
2018.
Absolutely shocking. But on that, back to the Wenger thing a second. So after we beat Burnley, I'm so glad that he had a great send off. He had a really good farewell at the Emirates.
Yeah.
And deserved it. He does deserve it. Whatever you think of him, he deserved that. And at the end, so we lost 3-1 to Leicester, which Arsenal have now got a £20,000 fine.
Oh, for the penalty appeal thing.
So the players are reacting. But at the end, like you said, Huddersfield, we managed to beat them 1-0. And it was quite ironic, really, how in the past, Arsenal, like George Graham era, was known for boring Arsenal, 1-0 to the Arsenal. And then Wenger came in and changed that philosophy. And then his last game was a 1-0.
Yeah.
And it was against Huddersfield, who Herbert Chapman was Arsenal's, apart from Wenger, you could say, was Arsenal's greatest ever manager. In the 30s, he won so many trophies. He won, I think, 3 consecutive leagues with Huddersfield. And then he was just about to win 3 in a row for Arsenal, but died sadly on that season. So fantastic manager, what a legend. But ironic that Wenger kind of left on those terms. But goodbye Wenger. But I suppose it brings us now to
the
new manager.
Situation.
So first of all, they were talking about big names and Allegri would be good. Simeone kind of ruled it out. I really wanted Allegri. I thought that was going to be a really good. You was confident because the plug said he was coming in.
Yeah, that guy knows everything. He's let
He was like,
down.
"Oh, I'm telling you, watch this video. He don't get it wrong." I think he got it wrong this time.
Yeah, the plug's let everyone down, unfortunately.
But yeah, Allegri was my favourite. That's who I wanted, and then it was like Arteta. Oh, mate, I'd love to have seen your reaction if it was Arteta. But I must admit, I would see Arteta. I'm not putting him down as a person or as a player. He was never. I think it's unfair when people say he was never a legend. Okay, he was never like He was never part of a winning league team or the Invincibles or anything like that. But he was a good player, and I would love to see him as a coach or maybe as a future Arsenal manager, but not yet. He's not ready.
No.
And if you're going to go for a legend, I'd rather go for maybe a Patrick Vieira. Henry, still isn't ready yet, but he would probably attract players because of his name. Yeah. That's the only good thing I'd say about him.
He's got a winning mentality.
That's the only positive, but still hasn't got the experience. But I would say Patrick Vieira for me would have won over Arteta. I don't know what you think, but
the problem is, again, we don't have many insights, in this day and age, which is kind of ironic when you consider like the Facebook, the Twitters, the podcasts, the interviews. That until like obviously Joey Barton's podcast that you introduced me to, where he's giving you a much bigger insight into the way that teams and players and coaches actually operate. But we don't really know a single thing about him. All I know about him, in terms from a coaching perspective, as does every other Arsenal fan, is what they've read on Twitter or through punditry interviews or things like that, from other people that are saying he's got a good reputation inside Man City, spending good time developing younger players like Sane and Sterling and things like that. But realistically, we don't know anything else other than that. Again, Vieira's, who again would seem to have that leadership quality, but again, coaching New York City is not the same as coaching in the Premier League, is it?
No,
in terms of level of opposition.
But at least he's a manager.
He is a manager, but I mean, my concern more than anything would be that, and this is no disrespect to Arteta, but I mean, if you've gone from talking about managers like Allegri and Enrique and things like that, and then Arteta's your favourite, whilst it's a risky appointment and we'll never know, maybe by the time this goes out there'll be someone else in, but at that particular time we don't really know how they've gone from Champions League winning fan finalist, domestic league winning to a guy that's never had a job before. It's a big level of disparity there between
it's giving people a chance, but at the same time, I mean, we know now it's confirmed that Arteta's withdrawn his interest in terms of his withdrawn his application, and we know now that Emery is the favourite, which I think is a great draw for that. But I'm just glad at this stage Arteta's not getting it. I think he could be a good number two for him.
I kind of thought...
Or have Henry on board or Sol Campbell on board. He can't get a job at the moment. But Emery, I think that's class. And what I can't stand at the moment, and I've got to be honest, guys, I said deluded Man United fans the other day. We've got deluded Gooners at the moment.
We have for years, mate.
Yeah,
years.
Absolutely. And I was probably one of them. But still, how can people be nervous about Emery?
Yeah.
He won the domestic treble with PSG last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't win the Champions League, so it makes him a crap manager. He won the league!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's all that about?
And he's won 3 Europa Leagues with
Back to
Sevilla.
back.
Yeah, they were excellent. Those
fantastic teams.
Yeah.
There's no way you can be disappointed.
Did well
with
at Valencia.
Yeah, well, surely you'd prefer Emery over Arteta.
He will be. He's very tactical. He's got the winning mentality. The downside to him is at the moment he doesn't speak good English, but that will come. That will come. But at the end of the day, I think if that by the time this video goes out, it's probably going to be announced. It looks like he's going to be the manager. But personally, I think that is a great call.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
there's no way you can be disappointed with that. It's consistently achieved a really high standard, even with players and teams like Valencia, etc. Where they don't have the same financial muscle that you do at a club like PSG or Sevilla, constantly winning Europa League trophies. It shows that you can achieve consistency with.
But I'd take trophies any day. Do you know what I mean? And I don't care if he doesn't win us the Champions League. We want that one day, but we want the league again.
It's not going to happen overnight. Anyway,
You know?
to be honest with you, what I'm intrigued to see is finally, a new take on the style of football. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Irrelevant of obviously this guy's achievements, I'm just excited to see what a new influence on the team will be like, from all the new backroom staff to the financial structure to the way that they're going to play football, and whatever, by the looks of things, the transfer decisions are going to be handled outside of the head coach, and he's just going to have vetoing powers if they're not going to fit into what he wants to do.
Mislintat will probably be really key with that.
Yeah.
But also with Emery, Guillaume Balaguer was speaking recently about Emery, because he knows him from his time in La Liga, and he's very tactical, Emery, as well.
That's what you need, young.
And this defensive.
He's only 46, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Arsenal have been lacking defensive nous for since Sol Campbell left, and players like that.
Yeah.
So, and when Gilberto was in the team, which is a long time ago, so they need work.
Fresh
They need work going forward as well as.
Well, that's the problem for a long time. It's not just the defence. I mean, defence is a big thing, but I think we've lacked a bit of a tactical motive at Arsenal for a long time.
Massive.
Wenger's had a fantastic. When Arsenal delivers, when they're on form, greatest team in the world.
But it's only once a year, an FA Cup final.
But the difference between exactly. But we don't look at Man United are coming up, so we need to adjust our play.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lazy approach, whereas I think he's going to be very sort of hands-on. Let's change our style for this game, which is what we need.
He studies the opposition a lot as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Balaguer, you mentioned about that. He won't do it now, but at one point, I think it was at Valencia, where he gave a tactical presentation on the opposition for an hour to his team.
That's brilliant.
Now, that's too long for footballers. They can't concentrate for that amount of time, but it just shows the amount of detail he's got.
Yeah. That's the thing for me with Wenger. He seems like now, when you've got these younger managers, I know Mourinho's getting a little bit older, but he's still not old by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
That they seem to have this really intelligent, modern way of analysing games and structures and things like that. Whereas, if we were losing a game, you'd see him bring off strikers and put on defence. Just weird, weird ideas, or playing half of the team out of position all the time. Just things that make no sense, and there never seemed to be a plan B when it mattered. And I think I was reading that apparently he did that same. Well, Emery's done that same style of presentation that you mentioned to the board, with an in-depth analysis of every player of the club.
Yeah.
To the board for the
so basically, PowerPoint could have got him the job.
Yeah, pretty much. yeah. Thank you, Microsoft.
No, but at the end of the day, I think that he'd be a great appointment for Arsenal. And in terms of the future, just to quickly touch base on that, I think, again, we'll be deluded if you think, that's it, we're going to win the league next year. I think the target's got to be to try and win a trophy.
Yeah.
That's what we want. But I think the first year's got to be find our identity again and get it back in the top four.
Yeah,
I think I would take fourth. Next year, I'd take that as a good season, and then we've got to build on from there and look to try and win the league, and take it from there.
Yeah.
But that's the future. I think on the whole, how would you rate Arsenal season out of 10?
3.
3 out of 10.
Yeah. Put it this way: it can't get any worse. It can only get better.
Exactly.
There's no lower that we can go.
You know what? I was going to say 4, but I think you're about right. I'd say about 3.
I mean, if you look at it from the start, you've got the Community Shield win to start off, obviously in the Leicester game.
At least we won a trophy this year.
Exactly. Yeah, that wasn't the Emirates Cup.
Wow. Didn't just win it on goals.
Yeah, exactly. But it started off right, and then it's dipped and just gone down and down and down to where you think it couldn't get any lower, and then maybe a bit positive at the end, and kind of we went backwards. That's all we can say. We've gone from 5th to 6th, and Tottenham miles above us really in the league, which is in
painful.
Performance, in attitude, everything. Yeah.
But how would you rate as a neutral? How would you rate Arsenal's season out of 10?
Well, it's got to be a 3, innit? It can't get higher than that, because the away form in particular in 2018, 7 defeats in a row, no trophies, terrible football, bad defending.
35 million for Mustafi. That's a low point. I think the flipping Valencia board of directors must have been absolutely laughing when they thought that. I got 35 million for this dickhead.
Well, to be fair, it was his second season, but yeah, he's not. He just sums up the bad transfers they've made at the back, and sums up the type of players that they've bought recently. They're not strong enough.
I think Kolasinac is though. I think he's got some steel. He's got some strength. I think with a bit of time, he's gonna be putting some shifts.
Yeah,
then again, Monreal's been so good all year. He's put in a really, really good account of himself, I think.
Up and down, really. But it's the thing with Arsenal is it's all on the day with them. But on the whole, we know pretty poor season. And let's hope that next year with the new manager, and by the time this video comes out, which looks like it's going to be Emery, fingers crossed, it will give us a little bit of hope and we can move forward. But thanks again, Lou, for
Thanks
taking
for
along.
having me, gents. Pleasure.
It's been pretty cool. But please, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, and share this video. See you later.
Cheers.